But when he handled a project brilliantly, luck. When someone praised him, they were just being nice. His belief edited reality. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Your life today is a printout of your dominant thoughts from yesterday. The house, the habits, the circle you keep, the risks you didn't take. Your thoughts are not harmless whispers. They are instructions, and the mind obeys. Chapter 2, The Law of Mental Identity. Now, let me tell you about Sarah. Sarah grew up in a small apartment above a noisy street. Sirens at night, arguments through thin walls, constant stress. But Sarah had a different internal script. She would sit by the window, watching the city lights flicker, and tell herself something radical. I am meant for more. No proof, no connections, no money. Just a thought she refused to surrender. When teachers doubted her, she translated it differently. They just don't see my potential yet. When she failed an exam, she didn't say, I'm stupid. She said, I need a better strategy. See the difference? Daniel's thoughts limited his identity. Sarah's thoughts expanded hers. Identity is not what you say occasionally. It's what you believe repeatedly. And once you accept an identity, your behavior rearranges itself around it. If you see yourself as unhealthy, you act unhealthy. If you see yourself as unlucky, you hesitate. If you see yourself as powerful, you start making powerful decisions. Sarah began acting like the person she believed she could become. She read books beyond her curriculum. She spoke up in class. She applied for scholarships others were too intimidated to attempt. Was she afraid? Of course. But fear didn't define her identity. Growth did. Years later, she walked into a glass building downtown, not as a visitor, but as an executive. Same city Daniel lived in, different internal architecture. This is the law. You cannot consistently outperform your self-image. You may achieve something once, twice maybe, but long-term, you sink or rise to match what you believe you are. Close your eyes for a moment. Who do you believe you are? Not what you post online, not what you tell friends. What do you say to yourself when you fail, when you look in the mirror, when no one is clapping? That voice is shaping your destiny because the mind doesn't argue with your identity. It protects it. If you believe you are small, it will keep you small. If you believe you are growing, it will search for growth. And here's the powerful part. Thoughts are not fixed. They are chosen, repeated, reinforced. Change the thought, shift the identity, transform the outcome. Daniel and Sarah lived under the same sky, but one saw limits, the other saw possibility, and over time they became exactly what they thought. This is only the beginning. Let me ask you something. If I could sit inside your mind for just 1 hour, what would I hear? Would I hear ambition or quiet self-criticism? Would I hear possibility or rehearsed excuses? Don't answer quickly, because this is where everything changes. Chapter 3, The Repetition Effect. Here's a simple truth that most people underestimate. Your brain believes what you repeat, not what is true, not what is logical, not even what is possible. It believes what is repeated. Think about how a song gets stuck in your head. You didn't choose it. You didn't analyze the lyrics. You just heard it enough times, and now it plays automatically. Thoughts work the same way. A child hears, "You're clumsy," 10 times. At first it stings, then it settles, then it becomes identity. Years later, that adult drops a glass and laughs nervously. "I'm just a clumsy person," not realizing that sentence has been rehearsed for 20 years. Repetition creates grooves in the mind. Imagine your brain as fresh snow. The first time you think a thought, it's like walking across it. A faint path forms. Walk the same path every day, the trail deepens. Soon, it's the easiest route to take. Eventually, you don't even choose it. You slide into it. That's why negative thinking feels automatic. It's well practiced. Let's bring this into real life. Mark wanted to start a business. But every time the idea surfaced, another sentence followed. What if you fail? At first, it was just caution. Then it became expectation. Then it became prediction. He started researching less, planning less, talking himself out of meetings before they happened. The business never launched, not because the idea was bad, but because the repeated thought, "I will fail," carved a deep neural highway. Here's the why behind it. Your brain's primary job is survival, not success. It prefers what is familiar over what is expansive. If you've repeatedly thought, "I'm not good at public speaking," your brain treats that like a safety rule. So when an opportunity arises to present, your heart races, your palms sweat, your mind goes blank. Not because you can't speak, but because your brain is protecting the identity you rehearsed. Repetition turns thoughts into beliefs. Beliefs turn into emotional reactions. Emotions drive behavior, and behavior builds your life. So the real question isn't, what do you want? It's, what are you rehearsing daily? Because whatever you rehearse, you become fluent in. If you rehearse doubt, you become fluent in hesitation. If you rehearse confidence, even imperfectly, you become fluent in action. This is not magic, it's conditioning, just like training a muscle. No one goes to the gym once and expects transformation. But people think one positive thought should override 10 years of self-doubt. It doesn't work that way. The mind responds to consistency. And here's where it gets deeper.
Chapter 4. Emotional Amplifiers. Thoughts alone are powerful, but thoughts combined with emotion, that's explosive. Emotion is the amplifier. Imagine two people saying the exact same sentence. "I'm going to succeed." One says it casually, no energy, no conviction. The other says it after hitting rock bottom, after losing everything, after deciding they refuse to stay small. Same words, different emotional charge. The second one sticks. Why? Because emotion tells the brain, "This matters, remember this." Think about your most vivid memories, your first heartbreak, a humiliating mistake, a massive win. They're clear because they were emotional. Now, connect this to your internal dialogue. If you repeatedly think, "I'm not enough," and you feel shame while thinking it, that thought sinks deep. It becomes heavy, anchored. But if you consciously attach emotion to a new belief, "I am capable, I am growing, I can learn this," and you feel gratitude, determination, even quiet certainty, you begin rewriting the script. Let me tell you about Elena. She struggled with her weight for years. Every mirror became a courtroom, every reflection a verdict. "I have no discipline. I'll never change. This is just who I am." Those thoughts weren't neutral. They were soaked in disappointment. And because of that, they stuck. One day, something shifted. Not her body, her story. Instead of saying, "I hate my body," she said, "My body responds to how I treat it." Small difference, massive impact. She began attaching pride to small wins, drinking water, taking a short walk, cooking one healthy meal. She celebrated effort. Emotion reinforced the new identity. "I am someone who takes care of myself." Within a year, her habits were unrecognizable. Not because she found a secret diet, but because she changed the emotional weight of her thoughts. Here's the deeper why. Your subconscious doesn't respond strongly to logic. It responds to feeling. Emotion is the glue. If you want to change your life, you can't just think differently. You have to feel differently about what you think.
And most people never do. They repeat new affirmations, but secretly feel disbelief. So the old emotional identity wins. But when thought and emotion align, transformation accelerates. Now, here's the unsettling part. If repetition wires the brain and emotion supercharges the wiring, then what happens when someone has been emotionally reinforcing limiting beliefs for decades? What happens when the identity feels so real, so true, that questioning it feels dangerous? There is one final layer, one hidden mechanism that explains why some people break free and others stay trapped forever. And when you see it, you'll never look at your thoughts the same way again. In the final part, we uncover the massive secret most people never discover. What if I told you the biggest prison in the world has no walls, no bars, no guards, no locks, and yet millions live inside it, willingly? Chapter 5, The Hidden Loop. Here's the final layer. Thought, emotion, action, result, reinforced thought. It's a loop, and most people never see it. You think, I'm not confident. You feel anxious. You avoid risk. You get small results, and those small results whisper back, see, you're not confident. Loop confirmed. Identity strengthened. Now flip it. You think, I'm learning to be confident. You feel slightly courageous. You take one uncomfortable step. You get a small win, and that win whispers back, maybe you are. New loop initiated. This is why change feels hard. You're not fighting circumstances, you're interrupting a cycle. And cycles resist interruption. Because the brain loves predictability, even painful predictability, even limited predictability. That's why people stay in jobs they hate, relationships that shrink them, habits that sabotage them. It's not weakness, it's wiring. But here's the power. Once you see the loop, you can break it. Not by waiting for confidence, not by waiting for motivation, but by acting against the old script. Small acts, repeated daily, emotionally reinforced. You don't leap into a new identity, you vote for it. Every action is a vote. Every disciplined choice is a vote. And every courageous conversation is a vote. And eventually, the votes outweigh the old story.
Chapter 6, The Mirror Principle. Look at your life right now. Not with judgment, with honesty. Your health, your finances, your standards, your relationships. They are mirrors, not punishments, not accidents. Mirrors. They reflect your dominant internal beliefs. If you tolerate disrespect, somewhere you believe you deserve less. If you overwork without boundaries, somewhere you believe rest must be earned. If you shrink in rooms, somewhere you believe you are smaller than others. Hard truth, but freeing truth. Because if your world is a mirror, then change the face in front of it. Most people try to smash the mirror. New city, new partner, new strategy, New Year's resolution. But the reflection returns because the identity stayed the same. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you believe you are. Let that sink in. If you see yourself as valuable, you demand value. If you see yourself as capable, you pursue difficulty. If you see yourself as powerful, you move differently. The external world rearranges itself around internal conviction. This is not mystical. It's behavioral alignment. Identity drives behavior. Behavior drives results. Results reinforce identity. The loop again. So here's the shift. Stop asking, what do I want? Start asking, who must I become to create it? Because when you become it internally, the external follows. Not instantly, but inevitably. Your 3-step action plan. Start within 24 hours. No theory, just execution. Step 1. Audit the voice. For 1 full day, observe your thoughts. Write down recurring sentences, especially the limiting ones. I'm bad at this. I can't change. This always happens to me. Don't judge them. Expose them. Awareness breaks autopilot. Step 2. Rewrite with emotional charge. Choose one dominant limiting belief. Rewrite it into a growth-based identity. Not fantasy, not delusion. Shift from, I'm terrible with money, to, I am learning to manage money wisely. Now here's the key. Attach emotion. Feel pride when you save $10. Feel momentum when you track spending. Emotion wires it deeper. Step 3. Cast one identity vote daily. One action, small, specific, non-negotiable. Want to become disciplined? Wake up 30 minutes earlier. Want to become confident? Speak once in the meeting. Want to become healthy? Walk for 20 minutes. No drama, no grand announcements, just votes. Because identity is not declared, it is built. Here's the philosophical truth. You are not your past thoughts. You are not your past results. You are the thinker, and the thinker can choose again, right now, in this moment. A new belief, a new emotion, a new action, and from that, a new life. The question is not whether thoughts shape reality. They do. The question is, will you let them shape it by default or by design? If this shifted something inside you, subscribe, because we are just getting started. And I want to ask you something powerful. What is the one belief about yourself that, if changed, would transform your entire future? Write it in the comments. Own it. Challenge it. Rewrite it. Because in the end, you don't become what you wish for. You don't become what you hope for. You become what you consistently think. And the pen has always been in your hands.
What if the life you're living right now, the job you have, the relationships you tolerate, the confidence you fake, is nothing more than a reflection of the thoughts you keep repeating in silence? Not your talent, not your luck, not your background, your thoughts. Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that every quiet sentence you've whispered to yourself for the past 10 years has been shaping your reality. Every doubt, every fear, every private belief about what you deserve. Now imagine this. 2 people stand at the same starting line. Same city, same education, same opportunities. 5 years later, one is thriving, building, leading, expanding. The other is stuck, blaming, shrinking. What happened? The answer isn't out there. It's in here. Let me tell you a story. Chapter 1, The Invisible Architect. There was a young man named Daniel. Smart, capable, talented. But Daniel had a quiet belief he never questioned. I'm not leadership material. He didn't say it out loud. He didn't even consciously think it every day. But it was there. When meetings happened, he sat back. When opportunities appeared, he hesitated. When promotions opened up, he assumed someone else deserved them more. His boss once asked, "Why don't you apply for the senior role?" Daniel laughed. "I'm not ready." Not ready. That phrase became his identity. Years passed. Less experienced colleagues moved ahead. Daniel stayed safe, comfortable, invisible. Now, here's the twist. Nothing external was stopping him. No policy, no enemy, no lack of skill. His thoughts built the walls. Your mind is an architect. Every repeated thought is a brick. Every belief is cement. You don't wake up one day trapped. You build the cage slowly. Think about it. If you constantly think, I'm bad with money, what happens? You avoid learning about money.
You make careless financial decisions. You stay financially anxious. If you think people always leave, what happens? You act guarded. You sabotage intimacy. You push away the very connection you crave. The mind does something extraordinary and dangerous. It looks for evidence to prove itself right. Daniel believed he wasn't a leader, so his brain filtered every situation to confirm it. One small mistake? Proof. One awkward presentation? Proof. One criticism? Absolute proof.